Okay, good afternoon. Is this on? Sort of, kind of on? Not at all. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Kind of, sort of. Okay, all right. Good to know. Good afternoon. Welcome to the March the 9th Faculty Senate meeting. We have first up the minutes of the February the 9th meeting for approval. Is there any motion? Is there anything that anyone wants to correct in the minutes? All right, then, the minutes are approved. Next up, my report as Faculty Senate Chair. The first thing I want to mention is that between the last meeting and today, we did have the University Assembly and vote on the revisions to the Faculty Senate Constitution. The vote was 453 in favor, 33 opposed, for a percentage in favor of 92.7%. So the document passes. Obviously, this was a, you like some parts, you don't like some parts kind of document, but hey, after 3 years of meetings, all kinds of different levels of this university, we've gotten this through, and hopefully it will provide for a more efficiently working Senate and Assembly when that's used. And I appreciate the work that a lot of y'all put into making sure we could get this over that final hurdle this spring. Also, as usual, of course, between the last meeting and this meeting, Senate leadership team has been in regular contact with the university administrators regarding a variety of faculty concerns, including but not limited to faculty governance processes, updates to the department and college level faculty evaluation documents, academic freedom issues, parental leave concerns, and the dean searches that have been going on inside libraries and at Broad College. We were also, of course, closely monitoring what's been going on in the state legislature in Charleston. Jason will have a report on that later, as well. Knowing your interest in the matter, we have brought back as well via Zoom Travis Mollahan, our VP for Governmental Affairs. And what else is going on? Also tied to that, again, trying to lift up your concerns for what you see in these rooms. We will have a report later today on sort of where the gen ed revisions stand as well. So that's why that's on the docket for later today. Finally, I want to mention 3 things that have come up before, just to kind of put them back on your radar and or kind of thank you for your participation in them. A thing that I've heard oddly frequently in the last week or two, considering it came out 7, 8, 9 weeks ago, is people referencing the Tripp Umbach report. So if some of y'all are just now seeing that, or you think it might be valuable in terms of your conversations about sort of the value of what WB provides, do please just Google Tripp Umbach, TRIPPUMBACH. It's quite detailed in terms of the kind of financial investment WB makes in the state. And whoever is running our comms team, I guess, is doing a pretty good job because, again, I get these drips about references to it fairly frequently. Also, I wanted to thank all of y'all who took part in the Hardesty Festival of Ideas events back in February. Vice President Roe Jones was, of course, up here last meeting talking about that. At least the one that I went to, there was very, very engaged turnout. And I hope that y'all will continue to support those efforts generally, but of course also support our students in leading that kind of process. And finally, I know some of y'all have been very interested in hearing kind of more, it's great to have the strategic plan, but what is it going to look like meat on the bones in terms of implementing it later on? So FYI, you will have in future meetings, not today, but future meetings, updates about sort of what our markers for success on the plan are going to look like. We'll probably take one part of it per meeting later this spring or early fall. And that completes my report. Are there any questions for me? Okay, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is used to handle routine and non-controversial items that we may vote together on in one vote, as opposed to spreading all that out. Today we have 2 items on the consent agenda from the Curriculum Committee, the course change report and the program report. Are there any requested changes to the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, please raise your hand. Thank you. Any opposed? The consent agenda passes. Okay, moving on to our standing reports. First up is the Curriculum Committee report from Kate Johnson.
Thank you, Scott. I have offered to the committee for approval the new course report and the deleted course report.
Are there any questions for Katie?
Hello, Clark Metz, Eberly College. I had asked for the committee's report to be removed from consent just to look at one particular item specifically. Econ 221 was a course that was proposed back in the fall and was since rolled back due to concerns about scope of course and some other curriculum concerns. Since then, it was revised, resubmitted, and has since been approved at the committee level. And further looking into the proposal, it now creates an overlap with the existing Eberly course, Math 150, which is an applied calculus course. The overlap is pretty substantial. It's about 85% of the course material is now duplicated across colleges. So given that and the fact that it could be an important course that should warrant a little bit more consideration, I would move to have Econ 221 removed from the committee's report and sent back to committee for consideration.
Okay, Corey, can you remind me of the parliamentary procedures here? If there's been a proposal, what the next step is? All right, the report is open for discussion. Ron.
Ron Reeser, Statler College. Curriculum Committee does not oppose the motion with the intention of sending it back to Curriculum Committee to be reconsidered for the Provost's redundancy review process. So we are in favor of the motion.
Is there any further discussion? So Corey can just go to yeas and nays. Okay. All in favor of the proposal? Thank you. Any votes against? All right, that is returned to the Curriculum Committee for consideration with the Provost Office and the redundancy issue. Any other questions for Kate? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I should say there's also is a foreign information item if you want to look at Annex 4. Next up is the report from the General Education Foundations Committee from Cody Hood.
Thanks, Scott. So I'm sure that some of our fellow colleagues will be able to answer some questions not related to the JEFCO, but related to general education revision updates here in the coming moments. So I look forward to that and the discussions we get to have. But from the committee itself, we've actually met twice since our last Senate meeting. In those meetings, we discussed 3 courses for JEF approval of note. HTOR 240. It's over at Potomac State, I believe. We did pass that course without approving it as a JEF. The rationale for that is because it's a new course. And so because we had some outstanding questions that we wanted to have addressed before approving the JEF attribute, but we also didn't want to hold up the process. So we've been in contact with the point of contact for that course. But we did approve it through like a less traditional pathway of approving the course to move through the pipeline as a new course, but not as a JEF itself. So hopefully that comes back to us. We also have been working with honors in their HFC courses to provide some guidance and feedback for the courses that they submitted for the upcoming academic year. And then I don't believe this update was shared in our last meeting, but in case it was, I'll just reiterate myself that for those that are proposing or updating their courses in Chem, there's a new set of JEF questions related to updating those responses to reflect the JEF expectations that the committee had been working on over the past couple of years. And so just in case there's any differences that faculty see, they know that those are coming. And then one of the missions of the committee moving forward throughout the rest of the academic year and probably going into the fall as well is reaching out to different faculty members in charge of those courses to help assist in the process of updating the questions being answered. There's some new questions, some questions that have been adjusted. For instance, we're no longer referencing LEAP outcomes, we're referencing the general education learning outcomes. And so we're here to help along with that process. So faculty can start to look out for an email from us that hopefully we can assist in that process moving forward. I believe that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Cody? All right, thanks. Next up is the report from the Teaching and Assessment Committee from Ashley Sowards.
All right, so the first thing with the early semester course feedback, everyone should have received their reports by now. The easiest way to access those is just to go into the portal and then scroll down to blue/spot, click on that, and then scroll to the bottom to reports. The new dashboard is so much easier to navigate than the previous dashboard. If you have any issues finding those, you can always reach out and we can help with that. With the spot, the current surveys can be modified until April 14th. Beginning on April 14th, if you have not changed the date for the distribution to your students, those will automatically go out to students on April 14th through May the 1st. And then your reports for the spot surveys will be available Monday, May 11th in the afternoons after your final grades go in. And Taco is still collecting comments and suggestions for any question additions or modifications. However, these will not go into effect until summer 2026. So we can't make any changes right now for spring 26. Taco will continue to reach out to each school and college to see if there are any specific questions for accrediting bodies. Public Health had some good ones that they brought forward. So we'll be reaching out for that. And then if anybody else has any comments, please send those our way. And then our next Taco meeting is Monday, March 23rd.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. Any questions?
Hi, Megan Light, College of Creative Arts and Media. So we actually had this brought up in a faculty meeting, and I don't know how many other people are seeing really low spot numbers. And I know that there have been workshops about kind of generating spot responses. The concern that I guess faculty were hearing from students, though, is that they don't realize it's anonymous. And so the question was whether or not there could be a part of the email that goes out to students about filling out spot and something that says, like, in bold and in red, right? Always anonymous and releases after the final exam grades have been submitted, so that there's no feeling of reciprocity or, you know what I mean, some kind of retaliation or something else. So that would be my suggestion from us right now.
And that's a great suggestion. It is in the email, but it is kind of hidden, and students probably don't see that. And a lot of students, I think they are concerned. So that's something that we can work on with those emails when they go out. Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ashley. Next up is the Committee on Committees report from Leslie Cottrell.
So no report, but this is coming up on some busy times for this committee. I'll just put a plug in for Corey, actually. He's going to be sending out a survey, and I can't stress enough, this is the volunteer survey on committees. He usually sends it around a couple of times because people miss it. But please let others know. You don't have to be a senator. Committees have senators and non-senators in terms of faculty representation. So some people have told me that they haven't signed up because they're not a senator. Please, please, please let people know that that's okay. That's exactly what we want, as well as senator representation. And then if you can sign up for as many as you want. Please sign up for at least one. And then if you have any questions, myself, the committee would be able to respond to in terms of commitment, things on the agenda coming up for next year, anything that you need to kind of get an idea of whether a committee is a good fit for you. But please be on the lookout. Does that come from you, Corey, by name, or would it be, who's the sender? Faculty Senate office? Okay. Right. And that's it for the committee.
Any questions for Leslie about the Committee on Committees? All right, then next up is the report from the Board of Governors, Representative Leslie Cottrell.
All right. Scott, you jump in anytime, please. So February and then April, these are the times that we're going to check in. Often these are busy. All the meetings are busy. I wouldn't mean that, but These are the ones where we're talking about budget and we're talking about other things for next year. So February 19th and 20th was when we met last time. And I just want to highlight some things. Of course, anything in an executive session I can't mention, but a lot of times from our committee work and then the larger group meeting, we do an overview. And so I wanted to just put some highlights. By the way, I always put a plug. There are separate committees, and if you want to know what those committees are and the definition of what things they're looking at, it's on the website, literally WVUBOG, and you've got it. And there's faculty representation on those, and just FYI, Scott and I attend every single one of them, pretty much. Even if you're not a member, you're given the link and you're there for the discussion, and you get the materials. So on that front, academic affairs and accreditation, some focus, kind of education to BOG members about micro-credentials as options coming up, which is fantastic. We have many great success stories from faculty that were shared, as well as WVU Online as options. So we're thinking about all the different strategies and different types of students that we might get. So that was a part of the discussion, as well as from Lou, a little bit more about the accreditation and that process as a follow-up. Divisional campuses is a subcommittee, and for that, obviously, we talk about WVU Tech and we talk about Potomac State in terms of their enrollment and retention efforts. They're doing great work. Metro rates have been implemented, and just fantastic reports from those campuses, as well as initiatives. So if you don't know much about what's going on those campuses, there's probably a way to collaborate with a faculty member there. Pretty neat stuff going on. So, and that's what we were talking about for divisional strategic plans and initiatives. Scott mentioned the strategic compass, so that's an ongoing discussion, partly for education, partly for BOG input. We were talking about metrics. What do we want to look in terms of the outcomes? What does it mean? How do we know we have succeeded? That was the point there, and the pillars for the new strategic plan, which we've seen here. Finance, facilities, and revitalization. That's usually where we receive updates about our bond rating. Tuition and fees, we started to discuss it. You're going to see that a little bit more in the April meeting, digging deep into that. And then governance, there was a request for BOG members to take a look at their bylaws, to take a look at their process and rules in general. And I think that's great. New members of the BOG, well, every year, every member can go down to Charleston for a BOG or trustee membership training. And in there, they were talking about a nice balance between BOG and what's people on campus and the president's office and things of that sort. So it's good to stay on the same page. We had a chance to visit the police department, University Police Department. Absolutely fantastic in their new space. That's the Chestnut Ridge building. So they were crammed into, a couple floors, and now they have multiple floors, and they talked about their training and how they're preventative as well as, safety, cautious. Just a wonderful visit. Consent, you have seen that. Of course, those are typically deactivations that have come through here, and you see them there. Approvals for like MS in nursing and leadership program. And so in general, I'll just say a lot of foundational discussion in the February, the check-ins, finance overview, where are we? How is enrollment looking? So that come April, we will have all the different levers and can make decisions on things like tuition and fees.
I think you've covered it fine.
Okay.
Any questions for Leslie? All right, thank you. Next up is the report from the faculty representative of state government, Jason Gross.
All right, thank you, Scott. So we're in the last week of the 60-day legislative session. I want to acknowledge that Travis Mollahan is a guest speaker. We did not invite him from some emergency or something. We proactively thought, okay, this is the last week of the session. We only meet once a month. We want to make sure he's here. So My sincere hope is that I steal all of his thunder and share what I know, but he is here if there's something going on down in Charleston. So of the 2,700 bills, there's a lot of issues that have been focused on in this session. I focused my attention only on legislation that's related to something like higher education policy. There were bills proposed that reference things related to academic program, faculty issues, and thankfully, for the most part, what has made it to this part of the session is it's been relatively quiet on those fronts. Some of the legislation that was proposed related to things like accreditation or resource allocation following some federal enacted law did not make it out of their originating chamber through a committee to the crossover day. So crossover day, for those that don't follow West Virginia politics, is 50 days into the legislative session. Any bill that doesn't make it out of their originating chamber through committee and voted into the other chamber is effectively dead for that session. And that happens when there's 10 days left in the session. Additional bills that are relevant to us that did not make it through a committee and past crossover day are the two bills that were talking about BOG composition, the one that was for student voting rights restored only, and the one for students, faculty, and staff. Neither of those, one partially showed up on an agenda committee for a little bit, but wasn't discussed, and another didn't move at all. So what has made it? I've reported on some of these before, but I think there's some that are relevant and good to talk about and wins for the university and faculty. So one that we want to continue to watch as it's going through this Senate is House Bill 4002, which will establish the West Virginia Collaboratory. This would be a mechanism for the legislature to be able to fund research at higher education institutions. And again, it would include a board that had members of the legislature, but also representatives from Marshall, WVU, and West Virginia State. It would be administratively housed at Marshall. House Bill 4081 is currently in Senate Education, I believe. It is the student-led initiative over the last few years that is called Higher Education and Health Aid Grant Program. This would provide a grant mechanism to fund things like food banks, hygiene materials on campuses. There is a bill, House Bill 4592. It shows up under higher education. It's relating to publishing maps. It's permissive in that universities are given kind of guidance on how they should publish maps for things like first responders and emergency response, but seems good, doesn't seem controversial. There is a bill following kind of the Higher Education Policy Commission also informs the Advisory Council of Faculty of initiatives they're pushing. There's an overhaul on state aid for students in terms of the application process, streamline the requirements for these. There's been a lot of different programs for different student aid programs over the years, but the feedback from students is it needs to be, and parents is it needs to be more streamlined. So House Bill 5212 would do this, but also it kind of encompasses an initiative that the university has been going for, and they've included language that would include Potomac State College as a permanent member of the Learn and Earn program. And then finally, there's Senate Bill 502, which is a bill that is under higher education. It's called Women's Collegiate Sports Protection Act. This is a bill designed to create a mechanism where universities could establish permanent endowments to support women's athletics, Olympic sports that are typically non-revenue generating, and in the context of all of the changing landscape of higher education would basically provide a way that the state could provide support to keep these programs and protect these programs. Finally, the budget bill has already passed both chambers and is on the governor's desk. But I know that might be something we want to ask Travis about because I know there's been a lot of news about the legislature working with the governor on that. The bill that has been passed, I'll just report on that, is a net positive for WVU. It's $7.7 million up. It does things like it doesn't have the 2% across the board cut for all state agencies that was proposed in the governor's budget. It also provides some increases for things like raises, but we can ask Travis because I believe whenever the legislature puts in a raise, it doesn't really cover all of WVU's payroll. At that percentage, it's just a portion that could be used towards a raise, and also things like the employer costs for PEIA. And then in addition, some of the initiatives that the university put in their priorities in terms of medical school expansion, that was one thing. There was supplemental funding that's passed both chambers for WVU and $32 million for medical school, one-time funds for the medical school for expansion. Marshall also has $30 million. The School of Osteopathic Medicine also has $5 million in that supplemental fund. And then there's a $5 million fund for the dental school. And I believe that is to help matching funds on a federal congressional directed spending. So like I said, Travis will talk soon, but I'm happy to answer any questions in the meantime.
Any questions for Jason? All right, thanks, Jason.
All right, thanks.
We'll move on to the guest reports. President Benson is en route here from Stewart Hall right now, actually. So if it's convenient, we will first hear from Interim Provost Paul Kreider.
Thank you, Scott. Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see you again. Spring break is coming. I know we've all anxiously awaiting that, and we've all deserve a break. I know we've been working very hard. I have a few updates to share today, so I'll get right to it. I'm sure you're all aware of the Eberly College Dean search. The candidates were here last week. We have a candidate here today and one also tomorrow. I want to thank the great work of the committee and also co-chairs Associate Provost Evan Witters and Dean Keith Jackson for their work on this important search. Our third candidate is Amy Lawton Rao, and our next candidate was, as announced on Friday, is Jason DeCaro from University of Alabama. So our search for the Dean of the WVU Libraries and Press is near its end. We anticipate an announcement very soon in that regard, so please stay tuned. I wanted to tell you there's a lot going on, and at WVU we have a great deal to celebrate. And I want to give you these few examples. For instance, Dr. Ali Rezai, Executive Chair of the Rockefeller Neuroscience Institute, was honored recently for his leadership in advancing neurological and mental health care and establishing the RNI as a world-class center. He was selected as West Virginia University's 2026 Big 12 Faculty of the Year Award. That award is announced by the Big 12 Conference, and it recognizes one faculty member from each member institution whose achievements in research, innovation, and education have made a significant impact on their campus and beyond. Dr. Rezai was honored for his leadership in advancing care for people with neurological and mental health conditions, including Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and addiction, as well as for shaping the RNI into a world-class center for patient care, scientific discovery, and training. In addition, we had 2 faculty members who were named among 5 finalists for the Faculty Merit Foundation of West Virginia's Professor of the Year Award. Sam Zizzi is the Dr. Pat Fail Endowed Professor in the School of Sports Sciences, and Peggy Fink is an Associate Professor of Nursing at WVU Tech. The Professor of the Year winner is announced during a banquet April 9th at the West Virginia State Capitol Culture Center, and the recipient will receive an award of $10,000. In addition to Professor Fink's state-level recognition, WVU Tech recently announced recipients of their Lifetime Achievement, Outstanding Alumni, and Faculty Awards. The Ed Robinson Lifetime Achievement Presidential Award winner is West Virginia's 26th State Treasurer and WVU Tech accounting alumnus, Larry Peck. This year's Golden Bear Empowerment Faculty Award winner is Gemma Cook. And finally, Casey H. Foster was named the Golden Bear Alumni Association's Outstanding Alumni Award winner. Foster currently serves as Community Outreach and Engagement Specialist for the West Virginia Higher Education Policy Commission and the West Virginia Community Technical College System. The Eberly College and Physics Department announced last month that physicist Subhasish Mandal was selected as a member of the 2026 class of Cottrell Scholars by the Research Corporation of Science Advancement. Mandal uses advanced computational approaches to accelerate the discovery and design of materials capable of supporting exotic quantum phases and quasi-particles. He is also committed to expanding quantum science education by developing online modules, hands-on workshops, and research opportunities for high school and undergraduate students, particularly those in underserved rural communities. He was selected as one of 24 Cottrell Scholars from research universities and undergraduate institutions across the United States and Canada. The highly competitive award recognizes outstanding early career scholars in chemistry, physics, and astronomy for excellence in research and for their commitment to innovative teaching, and provides a $120,000 support for integrated research in science education. Also last month, the Statler College shared the news that the WVU Mine Rescue Team secured second place overall at this year's international competition, while earning a first place finish in the Confined Space Challenge. Throughout the competition, teams were evaluated across 5 categories designed to simulate real-world emergency response scenarios: first aid mass casualty incident, technicians challenge, confined space challenge, underground mine problem, and rope rescue. The team was led by recent mining engineering graduate and current MBA student, Justin Waybright, and included 8 additional students across multiple disciplines. Also want to congratulate Kayla Cooper, a second-year student in the College of Law, who was recently selected as the next editor-in-chief of the West Virginia Law Review. Currently serving as associate editor, Kayla will lead the student team next year as they produce volume 129 of the 4th oldest law review in the country. So a few quick reminders. Textbook and course materials adoptions for summer and fall courses will be due April 1st. Again, summer and fall courses, April 1st. All course instructors should complete the adoption process no matter what you choose to do for textbooks and materials. If you're making changes to your materials, readopting the same materials, or even if you are not requiring any textbooks or materials, submitting this information by the deadline helps ensure the WVU bookstore has ample time to produce source products and work through any issues so that the First Aid Complete program is successful. The Office of Undergraduate Research out of the Honors College is seeking faculty interested in hosting undergraduate researchers in their labs or research spaces during the 26-27 academic year. If you would like to participate, please reach out to the Office of Undergraduate Research. Also, the deadline to submit abstracts for the 2026 Spring Research Symposium is quickly approaching. If you have students interested in participating, they can submit an abstract online through the undergraduate research website. And unfortunately, that deadline is tonight at 11:59. So like I said, it is urgently approaching. So that concludes my report for today. I'm happy to take any questions if you have them.
Harlan Lee from Engineering College. I found there's an issue in our for students who dropped from the program. Once they withdraw from our program, all their records are removed from the eCampus. And now university need to report that to someone. They keep pushing faculty to find information about the students. When they dropped, when they attended last time. As a faculty, we don't have any of that record because everything now is online. Just the university need to find a way to address these.
So I'm not aware of any circumstance where we would remove a student's records from our system. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, from eCampus, when student withdraw, as a faculty, we have no access for their students.
So a professor may not have access through eCampus, but they still remains on record in our system.
We don't know, but university keep asking faculty to provide information. We don't have those information.
So just, I can actually answer this if this helps, Paul.
Sure,
So
please.
So in Blackboard, you used to be able to run reports. And so I think you can still do that to see basically if anybody had turned anything in. But then Mohammed's also suggesting going to Navigate as a way to see that a student had been, because you're just saying when they drop the course, there's a PDF that comes to us and it says, did the student do one thing one time in your course, right?
Yeah, they just asking me when was the last attendance. We have no record when's the last attendance.
If you're using attendance in Blackboard. Oh, that's a curious one too.
No, I'm not using. Yeah,
Oh,
I don't have any record. I send email back, but they keep asking me, and it's the once the student not in the eCampus, for me to have access. We don't have any records.
you should be able to, like I said, run a report. And the last time even that they went into eCampus is, oh, you guys are saying no now. Interesting. Okay, I can take this to the Academic Technology Committee
Yeah,
with Mohammed and
you
we
can
can
check out.
discuss. Archive report. Okay, you had the same thing. Okay, so he's saying archive reports in Blackboard.
University run that instead each faculty writes?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Can university write other than each faculty writes?
Each faculty has access to that.
Each faculty should have access through eCampus to the
Okay,
archive report that Dr. Fleming
I
talks
should
about.
say, I am not.
If you have a specific
I
example
just
that
have a lot
you're
of
having an
students.
issue with, I would suggest you bring it to our attention, the provost office or the registrar's office, and we can try to help you figure that out.
Okay, I will, but I send the email, but they keep asking, sending me email.
Send it to me directly, please.
Okay, yeah. I will.
Thank you.
Hi, Lauren Prinzo with Extension. My question is about the promotion and tenure review. So we're in a transition year where we've passed a new central document for promotion and tenure guidelines, and the college documents are in flux, being finalized that align with it. Could you share any information about how your office is approaching kind of that little bit of disjoint during the transition year for P&T for faculty?
So the college, excuse me, the provost's office would only work from documents that are currently approved. So if we have a university document that is a new document that's been approved, and if we have college documents or departmental documents that are going through a process of approval but not yet approved, we will resort back to what's been approved.
In the case that the approved college document and the central document don't align, should faculty reach out, or what
If there are
happens in that
specific
circumstance?
questions, I think you should reach out to Tracy Morris in the provost's office to try to work those out, or with the dean's office.
And then my other question along the same guidelines is if there's any update on timeline or any other information on the college P&T documents at this time.
I have no further update at this point. We can try to give you an update a little later. I'll have somebody reach out to you, Lauren. Okay? Any other questions? Anything online? No? Thank you.
All right, next up will be our report from President Michael T. Benson.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and happy spring. I make a motion that we have the next meeting outside, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry to be a tad late. I just came from Lincoln High School. We are doing our best to get into all the high schools that are local. I was in Morgantown and University about 10 days ago, and I think it's really important that we stress with our local students that we're paying attention to them, and I would never want to take them for granted. Also, it's nice to come back to the College of Law. Paul and I and Mark Gavin spent some time up here last week. And if you see Dean Susan Brewer, give her a pat on the back, give her a handshake, because she led the college through a difficult time, but with the reaccreditation process, she and her team did an unbelievable job. And without divulging anything I can't say at this point, it went swimmingly, as my grandmother used to say. And I'm really proud of her and the role that everybody played in coming forward with honesty and transparency about what's happened, but how we rectified it. But all the credit goes to Susan and her team. Speaking of last week, I was in Houston with our WVU Foundation for a retreat. The chair of the board is from Houston, so we went there. And I see Jason here, and we went to NASA, we went to the Johnson Space Center, and all of these WV people just like came out of the woodwork, and they were all wearing their gear. And it was a testament again of how far-flung our alumni are and how proud we are of them and all the good work they're doing. You've heard me use the Kennedy line from his famous 1962 speech, which he gave at Rice University. So our meetings on Friday didn't start a little bit later. So I went to Rice because I wanted to see the very place where it happened, at the football stadium. And it was locked, so I made my way around the stadium as I finally found an open entrance. And lo and behold, this gentleman came up to me and he goes, "Hey, you're from West Virginia." I had on my attire. And he goes, "I'm from Wheeling. My name is Matt Weaver." And it turns out his daughter has applied to come to nursing school, and he was just named the chief arborist at Rice, where they have more trees than students, and he's very busy. So it was another testament of WVU is everywhere. Speaking of the foundation, really grateful for these volunteers. We spent a lot of time kind of digging into where we are and the public launch of the campaign, which will be in the fall. But stay tuned for that, because that margin of excellence that we have as an institution is thanks to the fundraising that goes on there and our very generous donors and supporters. The Day of Giving will be on March the 25th, and we've requested the focus be on unrestricted scholarships. If there's anything the foundation can transmit to the university, it's nothing's more important than scholarship funds. So they've agreed, and I encourage you, even if it's a small amount, do something to support this effort. This week, we have a very big visit from the National Science Foundation. You've probably heard about it. I talked to Ariane this morning to wish her well. This is a big lead up to a $160 million grant. We're, as you know, the lead PI. The co-PIs are Carnegie Mellon and Pitt. It has the potential of 21,000 jobs over its decade lifespan, 150 startups, and more than $1 billion in economic growth. So there are 15 finalists, and 9 will be awarded this grant. So this was originally intended to happen at the end of January, but you remember the snow that we had then. So this is much better and much different. On the enrollment front, we're taking all the proactive steps that we can to ensure that we bring in a solid class for fall of 2026. To that end, we are launching Mountaineer March Madness. And it's a follow-up to what we did last year, where we did kind of a phone-a-thon for a night, but we're doing one night a week with different colleges, having different representatives from deans to associate deans to department chairs. So we're going to have a phone bank set up at Blaney House. We're going to write postcards and contact all those students that have been accepted but have not made a deposit. So you've heard me say this before, and I'm going to keep repeating it. Enrollment management is not the purview of one office on campus. It's the business of all of us. You all can help with it. You do it in what you do in your departments and colleges, respectively. For open houses, we have a Decide WVU open house on Saturday, the 11th of April. I encourage you to participate in that. But this is an important time, because this is where you start kind of getting the sense of where deposits are, and hopefully we'll attract those students that are kind of on the fence. I mentioned my visit to Morgantown University. I've been to East Fairmont, North Marion, Fairmont Senior, and today Lincoln High School. And some of these kids, I asked them, how many intend to go to college? And today it was about probably half the hands went up. I emphasize a trade, 2-year program, diploma, certificate. Consider our Kaiser campus, our Beckley campus are certainly right here, but it's really important. As you know, we have a very high participation rate in terms of high school graduation, and then we plummet to the bottom quartile in the country of kind of pursuit of opportunities beyond that. So we need to continue to focus on that. I mentioned Day of Giving. I now want to introduce our special guest. I think she's probably back in St. Louis. She made it home through hobby like I did on yesterday, which was quite an adventure. But this is Beverly Wendland, our new provost. She was gracious enough to spend several days with the foundation, and she hit it off extraordinarily well. She's also chairing our VP for Research search, which will launch on April the 1st. I also mentioned, or should have mentioned, our CFO search, which just was recast, so you'll hear more about that. But with that, I want to introduce our new provost, a former provost at Washington University in St. Louis, Dr. Beverly Wendland.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks, President Benson, for sharing some of your time with me on your president's report. I just want to, first of all, just thank everyone who has reached out to me since the announcement of my hiring. I really appreciate the warm West Virginia welcome that I have received. It's been a little overwhelming, I have to say, and it feels really, really good. I am very excited about the approach of July 1st and getting on the ground and working with everybody once my official start date happens. In the meantime, thanks to Interim Provost Paul Kreider for all the work that he's doing to keep the trains running and continue to show the leadership of the Provost Office and how it is so important for the university. During this period between my announcement and now, and all of the people I've been able to interact with thus far, I've become aware of so many great things that are happening at WVU. And I'm so excited about supporting President Benson as we move forward into the university's next era. And as he mentioned, we've got the VPR, the Vice President for Research search coming up, and tapping into all of my previous experience with research, building research activities, both at Hopkins and at WashU. I'm really pleased and excited to be leading the national search for our next VPR, and we're planning to launch that search around April 1st. So if you know any great people that you think would be a good VPR for WVU, please make sure that they're poised and ready to engage with our search process. We want to develop a strong pool of candidates and bring the strongest person possible in for this new role. So in the meantime, I know that there's going to be lots of opportunities as I continue my onboarding and my education about all of the great things at the university and the community. I've got lots of opportunities to learn more from all of you here between now and July 1st. And so for now, I just want to reiterate my excitement and my enthusiasm about my upcoming move with my family to Morgantown and to becoming a fully integrated member of the community and to really getting started officially. And so let's go. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Beverly or for me? I'm happy to address anything you may bring up today.
Hello, Joe Jones, College of Creative Arts and Media. I would normally have a question, but since you do not get paid from this university until July 1st, I will be withholding my questions. Thank you.
All right, I'll be happy to take it when the time is right.
Well, I'm getting paid. You sure you don't have anything for me? Anything else? I know Travis will give a detailed report on the legislative session. If you pay attention to the calendar, again, I don't want to take anything for him, but it ends this weekend. I think it's either Sunday night or Saturday night, one of the two. Saturday night. A political scientist should know that. Thank you, Scott. But the legislature has gotten the budget to the governor, I think, earlier than ever. And now the kind of horse trading takes place, and that's what he's dealing with. So I think he's going to join us here shortly. Yes.
Lisa Costello, School of Medicine. I just had to ask, what was it like being at the Big 12 championship for the W Mountaineers? As a former women's basketball player, I had to ask this question, but pretty good your first time to bring home a championship, sir.
Well, yeah. All the credit goes to those players, to our coaching staff. That was something. We had not done that since 2017. If you've not been to a women's game, you need to treat yourself and do the right thing and come to a women's game. And it looks like we'll have a very good chance of hosting the first round here on campus. So I hope Coliseum is rocking when it happens. But what they were able to do, and you know, I played basketball like you. The eyeball test before the game, TCU was measurably taller, bigger, And playing on a glass floor was new for everybody. You probably saw it on TV. But the way they executed, the way they hustled, just the grit of the team is so emblematic of Mountaineers. And Coach Kellogg and his staff deserve a ton of credit. But those players, I'm so happy for them. And I think we'll get a really good draw. So we'll find out on Saturday, kind of sotto voce, as they say, whether or not we're going to get it. And then we'll know officially Sunday night. So thank you for that. That's a good question to end on. I'm going to drop the mic and leave. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
All right, next up is a report from the Vice President for Governmental Relations and Collaboration, Travis Mollahan.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me? Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for having me, and thanks to Jason for stealing a lot of the thunder earlier. I appreciate that. He gave a very thorough report, and I really appreciate him and the partnership we have between my team and Jason. It's been very good to work with him this session. So as Jason said, and as the president just alluded to, we have 5 days left in the legislative session. It ends at midnight on Saturday. And so I want to spend a few minutes going through some of the issues that we're tracking and some of the issues we could see over the next few days, and potentially what could happen between the legislature and the governor related to the budget and the supplemental funding. As has been stated, there is a budget compromise that has been reached. It's passed earlier than any record that I know of in the legislature in the past. Previous legislatures didn't pass their budget until after the regular session. And about, 2014, 2015, when the Republicans took over, the budget started to be passed during the regular session. But this is unprecedented that it passed about 2 weeks early. In that budget, it includes the $7.7 million increase in base funding. That's made up of the reversal of the 2% agency cut, 3% for the employer share of PEIA, 3% for the state employee pay raise, which again is a very general number, doesn't cover enough for all of our employees. And then finally, the inflation adjustment for the funding formula, which makes up the majority of that $7.7 million. In addition, there is a separate supplemental House Bill 5682, which appropriates $32 million to the School of Medicine for expanding programs, enhancing IT infrastructure, starting new construction on an educational building with new classrooms, lab space, student areas, et cetera. We plan to pursue federal funding for the total cost of that project and some donor support as well. And then $5 million for the School of Dentistry main clinic, which was one of the untouched areas in the School of Dentistry's renovation project, which received about $27 million over the past 3 years from the congressionally directed spending program in the federal appropriations bills. So both of those bills were passed last week and went to the governor's desk on Friday. He now has 5 days constitutionally, which excludes Sundays, to review those bills. He can sign them, he can veto them, he can use his line item veto, or he can do nothing and let them become law without his signature. So both of those bills will be acted upon by Thursday night at midnight. So just in a couple days, we'll know what the governor decides to do. And if he vetoes either all the bills or a portion of the bills, that sets up a showdown between the legislature and the governor. And two major issues that are still being held by the House of Delegates includes the Rural Health Transformation Program bill, which sets up the process to spend that $199 million, as well as the personal income tax reduction. So the budget contemplates a 5% income tax reduction, but the bill that authorizes it has not been passed. And so that's the potential showdown coming on Friday and Saturday is depending on what the governor does with the budget and how the legislature may respond with those two big items still being held by the House of Delegates. For higher education reforms, we have seen a major overhaul of HEPC's grants and aids in House Bill 5212. As Jason said, that really just streamlines the programs. The chancellor and her team, in reviewing the aid programs that the state provides, found a myriad of programs, some from 30 or 40 years ago, some recently, which do similar things. And so they streamline those programs and try to make it a little easier for parents and students to understand and to access. That bill does contain our priority to add Potomac State College to the Learn and Earn program. And that bill just passed Senate Finance just a few minutes ago and will go to the floor and hopefully be done in the next couple days. As Jason also said, the bills to change accreditation standards or to require degrees to comply with workforce information are dead, as is the two bills which would have restored BOG voting rights for faculty, staff, and students. Finally, the collaboratory bill, which was referenced earlier and which funds new research, it doesn't fund current research, it funds new research, will be considered tomorrow morning by the Senate Education Committee. The budget contemplates about $1 million for that program to administer it and to fund some of these projects. So it's a small sticker price. I think what the legislature wants to do is to see how those first few projects are conducted, and then perhaps down the road they may increase some of that funding. So with that, that concludes my report, Scott, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Travis?
Hi, Travis. Joe Jones, College of Creative Arts and Media. Thank you so much for your report. I know you don't have to do this, and you took the time. I guess I'm curious if you would characterize your relationship with the legislature. So I know the governor is going to be different. And the reason I bring this up is because of the Hardesty Festival of Ideas, and big shout out to student government for bringing that back. One of the people they actually had was the chair of the Standing Committee on Education. And it kind of struck me of how open he was to WVU. He's conservative, but I understand the importance of the university. So I wonder, in your office, do you feel like you guys are having to advocate more for WVU, or is it a legislator that is more open to your expertise and asking what you need as far as the success of the institution?
Well, thanks, Joe. That's a great question. And I think it sort of follows up on the question you asked the last time I was at Faculty Senate about, we see sort of this broad national criticism of higher education, but in particular, when you talk about your university or your state, they may not put you in that same category. And so I would start off by saying that's what we see, right? We may have folks that we work with down here that may be against what we're proposing, or they may think certain things about higher education, but we have received pretty broad support, and in particular from Delegate Statler, his involvement in the community through the Milan Park Foundation, through when he served on the the county school board, and through the Morgantown Chamber. We've known him for a really long time, so it makes it pretty easy when you know people to work with them. And that's what our team does. That's why we're here all 60 days. It's obviously difficult to be away from your family and your colleagues, but that's the way you get things done. And we spend our time, we're here at the Capitol right now. My colleague, Dan Kimball, you can't see him, it's right off camera, but we're working the halls and talking to people. And that has generally produced some really positive results over the past few years for the university. We obviously have had a few issues where we've been on the other side of the legislature, but by and large, we've seen them invest in some pretty significant projects, either by slightly increasing the base or those one-time fundings for the Cancer Institute, for deferred maintenance, and now for the expansion of the School of Medicine. So I think we have a really good relationship with the vast majority of members, and it cuts across the political spectrum. So it's not just Republicans, it's the Democrats as well.
Right, and I appreciate the name of your office, like government collaboration. That's the whole point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next question.
Hi there, Catherine Fonseca, WV Libraries. Could you expand a little bit more on the 3% PEIA employer, if we as employees will see any sort of material benefit, or if it's just to keep up with inflation? And then any additional talk that you've heard, rumblings perhaps, around PEIA special session? Obviously, the one that was proposed last year never materialized. Wondering if that's been talk of the governor. It doesn't seem like it's really risen to a lot of consideration, and if we're looking at another rate hike, essentially. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for this question. So, as to the PEI employer share, so each state agency as an employer, bears the costs of the increase to administer the program. And so that's what the legislature provides to us as the employer. So, faculty and staff, employees would not see a direct benefit other than the legislature providing us some of that funding obviously helps us balance our budget because of those increased costs. The pay raises, I think, are contemplated to help with some of those increased costs. But as we know, the legislature, because of the way we're funded, and we're primarily funded not from state revenue, but from other revenues, never is able to provide a full amount to cover everyone receiving a 3% increase. So I think our hope is that the funding helps us stabilize our budget and also puts some funding in employees' pockets. And I think the budget overall, there'll be more details on the university budget as the board meets and considers things in the next few months. In regard to a special session on PEIA, we have not heard any rumblings about that. We have heard potential rumblings of a special session on the school aid formula. That's the way that county schools are funded. So we could see sometime in the spring a special session on that. But there were rumblings last year of a number of special sessions that ultimately did not materialize. So I think really what will precipitate that is what bills ultimately pass or don't pass this Saturday, and where some of those priorities are. If there's a special session, I think the school aid formula is likely to receive priority attention.
Lisa.
Hi, Lisa Costello, School of Medicine. I rose with a question. I want to thank first, though, Travis and Jason Gross, who was my student body president, for their diligent efforts. And my question is maybe as much for the body as for you, Travis. So answer to what you will. This is an election year. So as you talked about government collaboration, every seat of the House of Delegates is up and half of the Senate is up. So what suggestions do you have on the importance of elections play and how faculty could be engaged in electing individuals who may be more like-minded in their government policy decisions than against those said policies? To much as you're permitted to answer, because I very much am aware that there's still an active session going on. So thank you so much for all that you and Jason have done to represent the faculty and our institution.
Well, absolutely. Thank you, Lisa. And it's always good to see you and to partner with you on the issues down here. So obviously you have to vote to make a difference. Obviously I can't endorse specific candidates, nor would I ever. But I think if you don't vote, then you don't have a say in ultimately what occurs. And, as we see the results of that May election, as Lisa said, half of the Senate is up. There are two major factions in the Republican majority in the Senate, and those two factions are trying to either keep control or take control. And then there are a number of opponents to the current House majority. So the results of the May 12th election will be pretty striking, and tell us where the Senate and the House will move in the next few years.
Any further questions? Thank you, Travis.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you all.
One quick aside, just for the record, Mr. President, I also appreciate the use of the word swimmingly. Fun. Our last guest report today is an update on something that several of y'all have brought up. Obviously, some of the questions y'all have will be questions for next academic year. But I mean, we want to hear sort of what's going on with the general education revisions update. And so now we have a report for like where things stand this semester. Yeah, go for it.
Hi, y'all. Thank you for having us today. I'm Nettie Freshour.
I'm Amy Kennedy Root.
And we know that you all have some questions about the General Ed Re-envisioning Committee. And so we wanted to update you on our stance as of now. So we met for the very first time at the end of last spring, trying to just get an idea basically at the charge of Evan and Lou to understand where we're at and where we would like to go. So at the start of the fall semester, we worked a little bit over the summer, but really got into it at the beginning of the fall, working on a draft of a survey. And then between November 5th and December 16th, we opened up our survey. We hit a lot of constituents. We were looking at students, faculty, alumni, employers, a lot of different individuals to try to gather some data of where we would like to go moving forward.
So where we're at now is we are in the process of analyzing and interpreting the data, and we're working on a results summary and website to share with the WVU community, and that we're hopeful by the end of this term to have identified potential general education models to continue our work in the next academic year.
Any questions?
Yeah.
I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead online.
I have a question regarding the survey. I was wondering if that survey went out to WVU Tech.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Hey there, Kevin Fonseca, WVU Libraries. I'm wondering if the Eberly Edge of it all is making it into your considerations. Daily Anthonyum had a great piece on student dissatisfaction with that program. And just if you could talk about where that model is sort of sitting in this larger work.
So as of right now, what we are looking at is what we have and where we would like to go forward. We haven't really dove in to any individual programs that we already have on campus, such as Eberly Edge, but we are looking at what we can offer, to keep up with the landscape of higher ed across the country that is going to benefit our students overall.
And I'd just like to add that this is a WVU community effort, and so I read about I believe it was in the student newspaper about student satisfaction, so that should have percolated up also in the survey, but again, this is going to be a multi-step process. So right now where we're at is just working through the data that we have and getting it in a format so that we can disseminate it to the university community.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of what Amy just said. When we're filtering through the data right now, we do see some comments related to the students and some dissatisfaction.
I guess follow-up question. Along with the survey, I think surveying is great. Is there sort of investigation to peer institution models? Is that a
Yes.
part of this? Okay.
Absolutely. All of us are working really diligently to try to find peer institutions that have models that we like and that we could, emulate off of, or we can pull some specific things that could work here and that wouldn't work here.
Okay. And that'll be in that summary as well as okay. Thank you.
This is our team. We applied to be a part of this team and were selected by a group specifically led by Lou and Evan. You can reach out to any of us individually as well if there's any additional questions that we don't have today.
Megan, like College of Career Media, just so we have said it to the group, I think it's important to address how your committee is interfacing with the JEFCO Faculty Senate Committee so far and then into the future.
So right now, we're still in just this planning phase of understanding where we're at and where we need to go, and we have full intentions of interacting collaboratively, yes.
Oh, I was wondering if I could ask another question. I had my hand up. I'm sorry.
Sure, just hold on one second.
You can go ahead.
I actually am wondering, and maybe you're kind of too early in the process to consider this, but I was wondering sort of like what are the, I don't know, like philosophical underpinnings your work. I'm wondering if it's, for example, to what extent you're considering the usefulness of a general education to provide kind of like a broad or well-rounded education for students so they learn how to kind of speak in different disciplines and understand the thinking of different disciplines. And I'm also wondering to what extent you're considering just the employment of faculty. For example, many faculty on our campus teach general education classes. And if, for example, you were to reduce the number of English courses or make it so that only one composition course was required rather than two, that would have an impact on the number of faculty that we could support here at the university. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, what kinds of issues are you considering, or maybe you're not to that point yet, but I'm just wondering kind of what the philosophy is in making the changes.
Our charge from the provost's office was to look at potential models as we re-envision the general education curriculum here. Issues related to real world skills, if you will, as well as a well-rounded education are things that we have looked at specifically because they were raised by the university community, excuse me. In terms of and we're aware of them, don't get me wrong, in terms of any implications in terms of the budgetary issues, that's beyond the scope of our task. We're just tasked at looking at potential models for the university community to consider in terms of where we're going with general education.
And I'd like to add too, I really like that question because that was a big reason why I wanted to get behind this is because I want to see well-rounded students. And we saw the same thing in the data from the survey, that's what students want, that's what employers want, that's what our alumni want. And so that is definitely a focus, is how are we able to create students that are employable, but also very well-rounded in other areas as well too. So yes, thank you for that question, because that does resonate with this group.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Nettie and Amy. Obviously, we are all very well aware that this is going to be a protracted process that will be perhaps more lively come next academic year. I'll go with lively. Okay, moving on now to the Senate business portion of the agenda. First item, 6A, is just as an FYI, At the last meeting of the Senate Executive Committee, we approved the promotion and tenure advisory panels for both health sciences and the rest of the campus. And so those are now underway and doing their work as part of the ongoing annual evaluation process. Oh, yes, there they are. Oh, okay. So yeah, so why I was not referring to the agenda earlier was that the link was not originally there. Corey has added the link so you can see the names, but also they're behind me or on the screen if you're on Zoom. Secondarily, we have a slightly delayed faculty senate election process this year, given we had to get through the Constitution first to know what the assignments for senators were going to look like per constituency group. So I will now have Corey discuss where we are in that process.
Hello. It's one of those rare moments when I get to speak with you all. So I will start by saying, hey, I appreciate you. I try and memorize all of you guys and I appreciate all the work that you do. So election season, wanted to give a quick update so you know what to expect. As many of you received emails, we just finished taking nominations for the open seats. Today is the day when we will call for chair-elect nominations for next year's chair-elect, and I'll give you more information on that in a moment. Next month, we will be taking prepared speeches from chair-elect candidates. We will be seeking notice of interest, and we have one officer seat open, and that is the Board of Governors faculty representative. And we'll be doing executive committee seat elections. We have 7 elected seats on the executive committee. So there were some changes to seats, and that's a big reason why I wanted to speak with you today. With the change to the Constitution, with the amendments that were just approved last month, the biggest shift is with the School of Medicine. The maximum composition of Senate, the one constituency can now make, is 25%. That was 39% in the previous formula. So what the largest change that will be felt in the upcoming year is going to be that the School of Medicine is dropping from around 44 senators down to 23. And that's also going to bring down the size of Senate itself. So reducing the size of Senate by about 20 seats. I have also attached this presentation to the agenda online, and I'll attach it to the minutes as well. So if you don't want to try and stare at the screen at the tiny numbers, no, it's right there. The other change that is represented in here is that the minimum number of representatives for one constituency is now 2. And so the College of Law, they dropped down to 20 university faculty assembly members. With our current formula, that would put them down to 1 representative. That is bumped back up to 2 with the new formula. Most of our colleges have elections this year. If you haven't received a call for nominations in your college, you guys don't have any seats open, but I will be reaching out to all of the constituencies with a notice of who your representatives will be next year. I sent out to the School of Medicine kind of a summary of my math in terms of how we calculated the School of Medicine representation. If you have any questions about my skill and statistics or questions about it, please reach out. Always happy to have a second eye on my work. The Board of Governors faculty representative, currently represented by Leslie Cottrell. I don't think Leslie feels like anyone will be stepping on her toes if anyone expresses interest. In fact, she might kind of breathe a sigh of relief. So we are looking for representatives, interested representatives. To be eligible, you just need to be a full-time faculty member, but you must be a member of the Health Sciences Center campus or Extension. And this is due to state code, if I remember correctly. Board of Governors code, yeah, was Board of Governors code. states that it must be an extension or an HSC member. It's a 2-year term. To indicate your interest, all you need to do is contact me and let me know that you're interested. If you have interest, you have questions, let me know. I can answer your questions, or we can connect you to Leslie, and she can give you feedback based on her experience. And then we will be doing presented statements from the candidates at the May meeting. And the bigger commitment, chair-elect. I know there's a lot of interested people out here trying to get in the Scott shoes. Please consider it, either this year or next. When you are elected as chair-elect, you're actually serving 3 terms. So you are serving as chair-elect for a year, faculty senate chair for a year, and then as the past chair for a year. Typically, as past chair, not as much of a workload. Your job is mostly to stick around for continuity of business, so you can reference anything that happened while you were there as chair, and so on. This year, contrary to my first email, which I'm sorry for the mistake, the individual selected as chair-elect this year will also serve a term on the Board of Governors as faculty representative. We have 2 representatives on the Board of Governors. We have one that is elected, and we have one that is attached to the chair position. They alternate terms, even and odd. I have received questions in the past about time release. We have it written into the Constitution that the chair-elect gets a 25% time release, the chair a 75% time release. Those positions do come with stipends from the Office of the Provost as well. We can provide more details if needed. But that is all for me from an election update. Are there any questions? Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so as Corey stated, now is the time for nominations for the position of faculty senate chair-elect. Again, as Corey stated, that would be 1 year as chair-elect, 1 year as chair, 1 year as past chair. Of course, last year we voted in professor of the Lane Department of Computer Science and Electrical Engineering. Is that right? I should know things by now. Matt Valenti to be serving as chair starting in July. This person would therefore be probably working pretty closely with Matt starting in July. We have already received 1 nomination of Associate Professor of Biology, Eric Horstick. Are there any other nominations for faculty senate chair-elect?
Hi, Mandy Wyrick, School of Social Work. I'd like to nominate Catherine Fonseca.
Catherine, do you accept the nomination? Are there further nominations? Okay, then we will have an election for this position. Well, actually, you'll have your statements for this position at the April meeting. We'll have an election at the close, that will begin at the close of the April meeting. Again, if what you would be interested in would be the other Board of Governors seat, the one that's associated with health sciences and extension. Again, we will ask for nominations for that at the April meeting, and there'll be statements at the May meeting with a vote following that. Are there any other questions about any of these kinds of elections? Okay, is there any new business today? Senator Light.
I've talked all day. This one's a good one, though. So the Art Museum of WVU is inviting applications for its faculty fellowship. The exhibition will be in the spring of 2027. There is a stipend for the summer if you are selected of $3,800. And any full-time faculty on the Morgantown campus are eligible. So the application is online. It's a great opportunity to kind of bring your skill set into the museum. The collection is actually now online too. So if you want to think about planning, but otherwise you can direct your questions to Dr. Heather Harris at the Art Museum and not me.
Corey.
Just a parliamentary procedure note. We never actually voted on the amended new course report and the curriculum committee report. Are there does anybody wish to dissent to the approval of the amended curriculum? new course report read.
Scott? The motion's been made. Is there a second? Thank you for the, I think I counted 4 seconds. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Scott, could you walk over? I'm sorry to make you do that. Oh, right. Yeah, sorry.
Scott Fleming, Chambers College. I make a motion that we accept Annex 1 sans the econ course that we will pull and send to the provost review for redundancy.
Thank you. That's been moved and second, third, fourth, and fifth. All in favor? Any opposed? It passes. I'm sorry, Corey. Any other new business today?
Not Joshua Swiger, College of Creative Arts. Not new business, but a couple student success that I'd just like for the community to know. Country Radio Seminar is one of the largest gatherings of country music industry people in Nashville next week. This organization, which is the Country Radio Broadcasters Organization, takes 7 paid internships for this week of meetings of the minds of country music and country radio. And West Virginia University out of the music industry program, of the 7, was awarded 3 of the internships. So you have a nice little contingency going to Nashville. And secondly, we have 3 students that are currently in running for an internship with Interscope Records based in Los Angeles, of which a WVU alumni, Matt Morris, out of the Reed School of Media, is a senior VP at Interscope. And for any of you that have like teenage daughters, he was crucial in the signing of Olivia Rodrigo. So some fun things happening, but I thought those internships would be some student success reports. Thanks.
That's great to hear. Corey, was there? Aaron?
Thank you. I just had a quick question or request for a future agenda item that would be related to an update on the accessibility initiative that we need to come into compliance with. I'm not sure how recently we've discussed this at Faculty Senate. My memory escapes me, but we're certainly concerned about that in the School of Nursing.
Completely understand. We were waiting for the hiring to be, finished. I think it was finished about a month ago. So it will be on our agenda in the very near future. Any other new business for today? Any other great success stories for today? Then at the end of the agenda, we are now adjourned.